Yeah, good morning. I was about to say good afternoon. We are still in the morning. Welcome back to another day with Aging Advantage as we prepare for our next ARPA Talk educational class. And the ARPA Talks, of course, my name is Donna Mitchell with Aging Advantage. And through local grants and donations, we offer programs to help with effects of COVID and other post-pandemic situations like housing and food and insecurities or isolations. Through this partnership, we provide educational topics that can help promote self-care and resilience. Today's speaker is Dennis Cooper, and he will show us or share with us a little bit about the reverse mortgages. And so I just want to go ahead and welcome Dennis to the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm not exactly sure of the format, but I represent the Federal Savings Bank. We're America's largest veteran-owned mortgage bank. I'm certified in all 50 states. I've been doing this for about 16 years, so I pretty much have it down pretty well. Typically, when I do a seminar, I usually ask for a show of hands how many people have heard something negative about a reverse mortgage, because there is a unfortunate negative connotation to it. It used to be half the room would raise their hands. They'd only come up with two things, but half the room would raise their hands. Since Tom Selleck started working for me, he doesn't work for me, he works for the industry. But since Tom Selleck has been advertising and promoting the product, it's down to two or three people raising their hands, but they're still coming up with the same thing. Unfortunately, seniors, for some reason, seem to think that the lender wants to take their house. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you do a conventional mortgage or a home equity line of credit, you borrow X amount of money from the bank, and each month you're expected to make a payment, and slowly the balance goes down. With a home equity conversion mortgage, which is the actual name of what's called a reverse mortgage, you borrow X amount of money from the bank, but you never have to pay it back if you don't want to. It's up to you. If you don't make payments, interest accrues and the balance goes up, just the reverse of a conventional mortgage, hence the nickname reverse mortgage. But if you think about it, the longer you are in your home and don't make payments and interest accrues, the lender's going to make more money. There's no reason why the lender would try to take your house, because they want you to live there as long as possible. In fact, they'll work with you to stay in their house as long as possible. The other negative that seniors seem to come up with is it's more expensive than a conventional mortgage. And I usually surprise them by agreeing it is more expensive because it's a fully insured loan. It's the only mortgage product I know that's fully insured. By fully insured, I mean if perhaps you borrow all the money you possibly can with the reverse mortgage, never make a payment, you live there 25, 30 years, which isn't difficult at all. The HECM product is available at age 62. 30 years would only be 92. That doesn't sound like very much today. If somehow on a $400,000 house, you live there 30 years and somehow the loan balance comes in at 500,000, but the house is only worth 400, you leave the house to whoever you want. It's always your house. They sell it for 400. They would owe 380,000, 95% of whatever they can sell the house for. The difference between the loan balance of 500 and the 380 your heirs would pay would come from the insurance that's built into the product. You get to use the money tax-free. Your heirs can't lose money. If there's equity left in the house, they get it. And ultimately, the lender's going to get 100% of what's owed, either from your heirs or from your heirs and the insurance. Really well-developed product. It can be utilized in a number of different ways. You could take a tenured payment, which means we would calculate how much you can get each and every month for the rest of your life, even if you live longer than the actuarial tables tell us you're going to. You can take it as a lump sum, or you can take it as a line of credit, which happens to be my favorite way of taking the money. You only accrue interest on money you take out, so you only take it out when you need it. The unused portion of the line of credit grows by 6 to 7% currently. There's something called the rule of 72. If you can increase your money by 6 to 7% a year, your money doubles in 10 years. So, for example, at age 62, you do a reverse mortgage, and I can lend you $200,000. but you have no intention of using it till you're 72. Well, at 72, that 200,000 doubles and becomes 400,000. And if you can actually wait to 82, your money doubles again, so you'd have an $800,000 line of credit available to you. It's a financial planning tool rather than a mortgage product. It has a label of being a mortgage product, but it is in fact a financial planning tool. It can be used in so many different ways, and I've been doing this, as I said, for 16 years, probably done at least 350 of these loans, and very few of them are for the same reason. You want to pay off your mortgage, you want to replace long-term care insurance, you just want additional income each month. There's just a lot of reasons for using it. About 10 years ago, HUD, who controls this product completely, decided that you can use a reverse mortgage to purchase a home. In the past, you'd have a 3-story house and you didn't like going up and down the steps. So you'd sell the $300,000 house. Let's say it's $300,000. You create a bucket of money, but you wanted to buy a $200,000 villa. Well, you'd have to either one of two options: take the entire bucket of money that you got from the sale of your previous place to purchase the $200,000 villa outright, or you could take part of it for down payment and then have a monthly payment each month. Well, neither of those things actually work when you think about it. Any financial planner worth of salt will tell you you shouldn't take all your liquid capital and bury it in the house at age 62 or older. And I don't know anybody at 62 or older that wants to have a mortgage payment. So 10 years ago, HUD came out and said you can now use the reverse mortgage to purchase the new place. You still sell your 3-story house. Say you wanted to buy a $200,000 villa. At age 70, I can provide about 50%. So I show up a check for $100,000. You show up with a check for $100,000. You purchase, move into, and live in a $200,000 villa, having paid $100,000. But you never have to make a mortgage payment as long as either of you live in the home. In essence, you're buying real estate 50 cents on a dollar. I told that story to a retired vice president of HUD here in St. Louis. His reaction was, apparently he was at lunch the day they announced this, or at least that's what I accuse him of. He called me 4 days later. He said, instead of that $200,000 villa you were talking about, my wife and I just put a contract on a $400,000 house. They were older than 70. I could lend more money. I showed up at closing with a check for $253,000. He showed up with a check for $125,000. They purchased, moved into, and live in a $400,000 house, having paid $125,000, and will never have a mortgage payment as long as either of them live in the house. Why would you buy real estate any other way? Those are just some of the simple ways in which the reverse mortgage can be utilized. If you have questions about it, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. I find the product incredibly useful because at this point, we're all living longer than we expected. Everything costs more than we expected. Pension plans have gone away. Not everybody has funded a 401k the way they should. Yet the house is one of the largest assets you've accumulated in your lifetime. Why wouldn't you have access to it on a tax-free basis that you don't have to pay back, that your heirs are protected against ever losing any money? It's just an ideal product for the times, if you will. Donna, do you have any questions I might be able to answer?
Well, thank you, Dennis. Um, I was thinking as you were talking, because I am a homeowner,
Mhm.
and I think this would be great too for our seniors that we service. Would be phenomenal. So I'm hoping that they do get this opportunity to take advantage of it. With the reverse mortgage, how does your credit score come into to play with it when trying to get approved?
We do look at credit scores, but we don't look at credit scores the same way conventional mortgage people do. What we want to see is consistency of payments, because In order to do a reverse mortgage, you have to have property. You have to pay your property tax. You have to pay your homeowner's insurance. If you don't, that would key in the reverse mortgage not continuing, and you have to pay it off. So what we're looking for is a consistency of payments. You're not late very often, and if you are, you have a good reason. A lot of times seniors have medical expenses that cause them to be late for some things. I've actually done reverse mortgages to pull people out of foreclosure if we have good reasons for it. So it's a very different product than what people normally think of as a reverse mortgage. Once again, our largest asset that you have is probably your house,
Mm-hmm.
uh, unless you've overfunded your 401k. You know, houses are increasing value. I always tell people I bought my house for 145,000 in 1989, and today it's worth over 500,000. I did an incredible job in investing. I sat back
Yes.
and my house just increased in value. So, I mean, that's one of the things you have to consider. Um, Houses have consistently increased in value over the years. So, um, like I said, probably one of the largest buckets of money that people have actually accumulated.
So the reverse mortgage then is, I know you were saying like a home equity, right? So
Right.
it's relatively different though, right?
Well, we look at the equity you build up in your home, compare it to what the house
Mhm.
is worth, compare it to what your balance might be on a mortgage. The difference is the equity you have available in your home. So over time, hopefully you paid down your balance. Over time, hopefully the house has increased in value. Um, Now, I always kid people that I've done reverse mortgages with. I always tell them, you know, if you want to refi the reverse mortgage, if we wait 5 years, you'll be 5 years older. That's one of the things I can guarantee. Hopefully, your house has increased in value, and depending upon the interest rates included, that's how we determine how much we can actually lend. So, um, one of my favorite stories, if you don't mind me telling this story,
Of course not.
I got a call from a man in Kansas. He said he wanted to buy a modular home. He knew the modular home was going to appraise for 60,000, but he could get it for 40,000 because it was in foreclosure. He was right. It appraised for 60,000. We helped him buy the home because you can use the reverse mortgage to purchase. About 3 years later, he called me and said, "You know, I built a garage. I put a fence around the property. I put a new roof on. I painted it inside and out. I know it's going to appraise for 80,000." He was right. It appraised for 80,000. So we refinanced the reverse to purchase. And at closing, I gave him a check for $15,000. At this point, he owns an $80,000 modular home with only sweat equity in it. About 5 years later, he called and said, "You know, my wife turned 62. I'd like to include her in the reverse mortgage because originally back then, everyone on the reverse mortgage, everyone on the title had to be at least 62. That's since changed. As long as one person's 62, we can do a reverse mortgage. But in this example, he wanted to bring her into the reverse mortgage. Well, I didn't take a commission on the third one. At closing, we brought her into the reverse mortgage. At closing, I gave him a check for $1,500. He thought I would walk on water. About 5 years later, she calls. He passed on. She wanted to know what happens to her. I said, "Nothing happens to you. You're involved in the reverse mortgage. You're on the title. As long as you live in the home, nothing happens." About 3 years later, she called me and she said, "I met someone. What happens if I remarry?" I said, "Well, as long as you're living in the home, nothing happens." So, I mean, the product, maybe it's my personality, but I truly enjoy working with people and using this product to solve situations like that. It's an incredibly flexible product. When I meet financial planners, I always talk to them in terms of if you had a client that invested in a 401k plan or a 403b plan for 30 years, would you recommend they use those dollars for retirement? Well, of course you would. It's the whole purpose of having those products. Well, I have a product people invested in for 30 years. They just thought they were paying off a mortgage. They didn't realize they were building equity in a home that I can give them access to on a tax-free basis. So um, I look at life that way, and I'm really, really happy that this product exists and I can solve so many problems for so many people. A lot of times I deal with a lot of people who provide home health, um, trying to keep people in their homes as long as possible. This is an ideal way to utilize tax-free money to pay for home health, anything to keep the person in the home. It's your money, it's tax-free, and you never have to make a payment if you don't want to.
Wow. Now, not making a payment, it sounds awesome, okay? But
Thank you.
how is that possible? I mean, and you're
You,
giving
you,
people money at the beginning or at closing, or you're giving them checks and they're not paying anything? It sounds
they,
like
you're
everybody
using,
should be doing this.
if you think about the house as a bucket of money,
Okay.
break it in two pieces. The amount that we can lend and the amount we're holding in escrow for the potential accrued interest that's going to occur on the house when you don't make payments. If you don't make payments, interest accrues and the balance goes up and eats into the bucket that we're holding for interest. That's one of the ways in which we can guarantee a return or an increase on the line of credit. If we have this much we can lend and we're holding this much in escrow for the interest that occurs when you don't make payments, if you don't borrow this money, we're not going to need part of this money. So we drip it into this bucket, and that's why we can expand your line of credit over time. It's just a matter of utilizing the equity that you build up in your home, and it
Mhm.
hopefully will increase over time. So it becomes a very flexible product as time moves on.
Wow. And this is something that can anybody that's at least 62 years of age and a homeowner,
Mm-hmm.
they can do. Now, I noticed you said something too, Dennis, when we were talking a little earlier. You were saying about purchasing like a condo or a home or something.
Sure.
So if you don't already own a home and you're
Or
trying
if,
to go,
or if you're right sizing or downsizing, you have a
mm-hmm,
3-story house and you're in your 60s, early 70s, you really want to clean that house as much as possible, and increases in property tax and homeowners insurance over time. Do you really need a 3-story house when the kids move out? So maybe you sell that 3-story house and create a bucket of money. You want to buy a $200,000 villa, I can help you buy it at a big discount. And
mm-hmm.
the other money you got from the previous house, you can use for quality of life issues. Just depends on how you want to utilize the money.
Now, the way that you, I guess, say that you want to utilize the money, does that have anything to do with approval or not, or how much being approved?
We have a formula, and it depends on the age of the youngest person on the title. It obviously goes against the appraised value of the property. We do have to have an appraisal, um, and the interest rates we're using. Another factor in this product is in order to do an application, you have to have mandatory counseling from an approved agency, approved by HUD, which sort of weeds out any seniors that probably shouldn't be doing a reverse mortgage, perhaps aren't competent enough to get involved in something like this, or perhaps a family member who's trying to take advantage of a senior. I think it's 37% of elder abuse is done by a family member. This weeds out those people who, shouldn't be involved in a contract, wouldn't understand what they're getting involved in. The only mortgage product I'm aware of that you have to be educated before you can do an application.
Wow. And also, you were mentioning like about the couple, the man ended up passing and the lady ended up was thinking about remarrying. If you have a situation like that, is the new spouse able to get on the mortgage? That way, if something then happens to you, or
You can if you refinance, but there might be
Mhm.
additional charges involved, but certainly you could do that.
Okay. So that
Yeah.
situation you would have to refinance. You can't just do another. So once you do a reverse mortgage one time, there's no need to ever revisit that then? I mean, it's just like a
Yeah,
one-time
it
thing.
depends on the situation. If you're the people who are involved in the title and on the reverse mortgage, you have a line of credit that's guaranteed to increase by 6 to 7% a year. So your line of credit will increase that way. But say you used up the entire line of credit. Well, if you used up the entire line of credit, there's no increase to the unused portion because you didn't qualify for that. Let's
Mm,
say you qualified for 100,000 and you used that all up. 5 years later, your house has increased in value. We can do a refi to capture some of the additional equity that's built up in your home over time. So it just depends on the situation. You need to talk to somebody like me who knows what they're talking about.
that's great. Oh my goodness. It sounds like it's something like if you are a homeowner, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah,
I'm wondering if it's just maybe a lot of people don't know about it
that's
or
that's the entire situation.
yeah.
I heard some recent figures. There's something like $19 trillion in home equity out there, and less than 3% of the population have considered it. One of my lifetime sayings comes down to you should never make a decision until you know all your options.
Hmm.
If people call me, I'll explain their options. If it makes sense for them, I'll be more than happy to help them. I've talked people out of reverse mortgages if I thought they had better options. I remember going to a couple in the dead of winter. There was snow and ice all over the sidewalk in front of their house. The steps were a little slippery. They invited me in. Actually, they gave me one of the worst hot dogs I've ever had in my life for lunch. As we're standing in the kitchen, I'm looking out their back window, and there's this huge, huge tree that looks like it's ready to fall down at any time. We go in the living room, and they said, "Well, my daughter, she's created a grandmother suite for us, and she wants us to move in with them." And we don't know what to do. What would you do if you were our child? And I looked at them and I said, your house is just as neat as possible. You're obviously both keeping the house in good shape. But at some point, those slippery steps are going to be a problem. Shoveling your walk is going to be a problem. And you're not going to be able to drive in weather like this as easily as you do perhaps today. If you were my parents, I'd recommend you move in with me. So I didn't hear from them again, so I'm assuming that's what they did. But you
Ah,
know,
okay.
you have to look at all the options that are available
Hmm.
to you. And
Hmm.
I'd be more. It's not that difficult for me to explain the option that might make the most sense to you.
Now, if a person, just say for instance, that couple moved in with their children, but they still wanted to keep their home,
You
could
have
they
to.
still?
It has to be your permanent address. So if you move
Oh,
somewhere else, if
okay.
you go into assisted living, the reverse mortgage will be called. Now, if one spouse goes into assisted living and the other spouse stays at home, you can do a reverse mortgage to help pay for assisted living. Just
Oh,
another use of the reverse mortgage.
okay. So there are stipulations, I guess, in certain circumstances when the reverse mortgage, I guess, is a benefit, or you can be approved for it. So somebody like myself, I'm not 60 even yet. So
You look a little
um,
young for a reverse mortgage
but it is something to be considering and putting on my
as,
radar for the future though.
as part of the
If
plan.
it's, yeah, if it's
Yeah.
still
Like,
around, hopefully it
oh,
is.
it's been around 40 years. I
Okay.
suspect it's probably going to be around a lot longer because
Yeah,
it's a product for seniors, and the senior population is growing in this country. So politicians usually listen to the people who are voting for them. So
that's good. That's good. Now, another question that just came to mind as well. I feel like something was in my eye. when we were talking about the gosh, that it just distracted me, made me think, forget what I was thinking about. Oh goodness.
I don't know. You may be qualifying sooner than you think.
I know, right? Oh goodness, that
You
is
don't have to.
something
You don't
else.
have to be a senior to have a senior moment. So
No, I know, right? Oh yeah. So with the reverse mortgage, the whole process, how long does that usually take from like start to
the
finish,
time
or
they have
once you do
their
your first one?
time they have their counseling to the time we actually close, I
Yeah.
tell people it takes 4 to 5 weeks. That's on
Okay.
average. I once did one in 12 days, which was incredibly unusual. And I did one that took a year and 3 months, but that included two judges and three divorce attorneys. So you can only imagine the snowball rolling down the hill, picking up dirt
Yeah.
as it went along. And just, yeah, it's
Wow.
people
So
think my
reverse.
middle people think
I was
my
going
middle name is Paul. It's actually persistent. So
to. That's a good one. I like that. And so you are able to help people in St. Louis City, county. What about a different state? You are able to.
my bank is certified in all 50 states. So am I.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I recently did one in Hawaii, which was kind of unique. It was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house in St. Louis would probably go for about 250,000.
Hmm.
In Hawaii, it was $1.4 million. So um, there's only so much land apparently in Hawaii. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, we can cover homes up to 4 million. Uh, and like I said, we can do. We have no trouble doing single family homes, modular homes, um, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes.
Okay.
As long as you're going to be in one of the units, you could purchase a four unit home, rent out
Okay.
the other three, and still have a reverse mortgage on the one unit to live in. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I mean it's an incredibly flexible product, and in all honesty, I think it's a product whose time has come. Seniors should
Yeah.
be looking at this thing.
Most definitely. Wow. I'm trying to look into it, and I can't even qualify for it yet.
Well, I'll be
I'm interested.
available when you qualify.
Yay. I'm going to be looking for you, Dennis. So we have to stay in contact. That's for sure. And I am so grateful for you to be on here today and just sharing this wealth of information. This was really awesome. Seeing that the majority of our um, culture that we serve and service are seniors 60 and above. So sorry for those who are not 62 yet, and then of course those that are have a disability 18 through 59. But those with that are 60, please just keep Mr. Dennis Cooper on your radar, and that when the time comes, I'm sure he's going to be available. We're Aging Advantage. We'll be available to be able to put you in contact with him. And we're just going to be looking forward to that. And again, just want to thank you, Dennis, for coming on today. It was really great, and we enjoyed you thoroughly. And looking forward to hearing more about what your other things that you may have to offer too in the future. So it'd be great.
I'm on the board of Aging Ahead, and I'm on the board of the Kauffman Fund. So I'm always looking to help veterans or the people 62 years of age or older. We do have, just as a side, we do have some products that go down to age 55, but
Mhm.
they're usually for houses of 500,000 or more.
Okay.
But they're proprietary products, and it's a very specialized market. But I do have access to those products. So
Okay. And Dennis, if someone would like to, they're viewing this and they would like to be in contact with you, how do they contact you?
they can call 636-675-1267, or they can reach me. I hesitate to give my email address because it's so darn long. They can reach me by email at my first initial D, Cooper, Cooper, 1623 here comes the hard part, at the Federal Savings Bank.com. I'd call me if I were you.
Yeah. And again, if you didn't catch any of that, you can always contact Agent Advantage and we will put you directly in contact with Mr. Cooper, Dennis Cooper. And again, Dennis, thank you so much for your time and opportunity. And those who are um, on as well. And just make sure we don't have any comments or like we said, we'll be posting this to our it'll be on our Facebook page. Just got word they keep it up for at least 30 days, and then we'll
Oh, good.
also post it to our YouTube channel. So if you want to go and look on either one of those, catch what Mr. Cooper said. If you missed something, go back and look at it, or call him directly and he'll repeat it for you.
Yep.
So that was great. Looking forward to just hearing, how many people are being able to take advantage of this. And so you guys have a great day. Again, thank you so much for your time and attention. And we're bye for now. Our next let me see, do we have another one this week? We do. See us back on Thursday. We have two on Thursday, one starting at 12:30 and the other, I believe, at 3:30. And we look forward to seeing you guys then. Thanks, Dennis. You have a great day.
Same to you. You take
Bye
care.
bye.